They are.
Al, you don't see him though?
No, he's not back on yet.
Oh man, you already know what it is. It's about that time. You are now welcome to the Great Debate Podcast, featuring your girl REMA and DEBRA COCO, right here, each and every other Friday night. Let's get it.
Hi everybody, it's Rema.
Hey, it's DEBRA COCO.
Welcome.
Hi everybody, it's Regina.
Welcome to the Great Debate, everybody. So we'll introduce the guests in a minute. Me and Deborah is just going to do a recap, and then we'll introduce both our guests that we have for tonight. And Regina, thank you for joining us. Deborah, I don't think the viewers can see you though. For some reason, your picture's not up.
Okay, I can see oh, wait a minute. I can see myself. How can I do this? It looks like I'm in it twice.
I got it. I'll
okay.
fix it.
Okay.
You see me twice, Al?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
So you guys, welcome to another great week of the Great Debate Podcast show. We have a very interesting show for you tonight, me and Deborah. A great topic that we're going to talk about, a great discussion about kids and going back to school and with everything crazy going on. Deb, you there with me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay. And everything going on. You guys bear with us while we fix our technical difficulties too. With everything going on in the world, we wanted to just have a real deep, meaningful discussion on the plan that we have to be sending kids back to school with everything going on and not feeling like it's the safest thing. Which is, I feel hard for parents, you know? But before we get into the topic, y'all know me and Deborah always do our current events. So I'm waiting to get Deborah back on the line so we can discuss what we've been up to these last 2 weeks.
I can see you. Go to the live feed.
Out of the group,
you'll be able to see me.
There's no picture, Al. She has no pictures, just the phone.
I can see all three of y'all. I don't know whether that's on your end.
Open up your, because I can see me next to you, Rema.
No, Regina, you see her?
Yeah, I can see her.
And I see Regina too.
Oh, you are on twice. Al, delete her.
Well, I already did that. All they can see is the three of y'all. Y'all good.
Okay. I just want to make sure because it's on our screen.
Okay, I see Langston is back.
Yeah, okay. All right, you guys. Again, we apologize for the technical difficulties.
Check. Hey, check. Can you hear me?
Yeah. You just got to cut your phone up just a little bit, Langston.
Check. 1 2 1 2.
I got the mic. Go ahead, Langston.
Okay. Yeah. I made this mic. Go on you.
Okay, so we can hear you. So Langston, what you're just joining us. What me and Deborah was just saying is that what we do is we do our little current events, and then after that we'll bring you and Regina in as our introduce you as our guest. So Deborah, what you've been up to this past 2 weeks?
It always feels like the time go by so fast, right? Since
Yeah.
we last spoke. Just, wrapping things up. I'm a teacher, yeah, that's why this topic tonight is so important because, these are some things that I have to think about. But just wrapping up the summer, wrapping up projects for the car, just trying to close out some loose ends before the summer's over.
And
how about you?
Congratulations on that. Congratulations on your new car. Hold on, let me cut this down. Congratulations on that and your new car. And it's just blessings when you can do that and treat yourself and you know, in this world we live in. So how is it with your kids and everybody? They love the new addition to the family?
Yeah, because I had a little Toyota Jeep Liberty before. They was like, you know, we kind of tight up in here. You see my big boys.
Right.
You know? They need a little elbow room. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's fine. It's good. I've been meaning to do that for a while, and I promised myself when I graduated I was going to do that, you know?
Right. You know, current events for me has just been, you know, babies. I got babies coming in my family. So, yeah, I've been pretty busy. My goddaughter, she's just had her baby, DeAndre Calvin.
So cute.
Yeah, he's just such a cutie pie. I haven't met him yet. They had actually just moved to Fayetteville. So I have the baby, you know, gotta wait 6 months, and then he really can't do a 5-hour drive then still. She can't fly. So I have to kind of wait my turn. But they're gonna do like a bassinet and car seat thing, trying to get him here within in 6 months, from his 6 months.
Okay.
But
so you know that's some FaceTime videos and all those.
Oh man, I was about to say all day, every day she's sending me videos, and it's like he's growing already. That's how it feels. He's spoiled actually already, which is weird.
Oh my God.
She cries when she puts him down, and you know, yeah, it's always a blessing, new baby. And of course planning for my grandchild. My grandchild mother, I want to congratulate Tanisha because she's always watching. She just received her RN degree, so she is now officially an RN. So yeah, that is
awesome.
Huge. I'm so happy. She did it. You know, she's. It's not an easy pregnancy. My grandson already is a handful for her. So the fact that she was able to finish, it was really rough with COVID and, you know, everything online now, pregnancy, it was a lot. So I'm really proud of her. She finally officially finished on Friday.
Oh wow, what a beautiful thing. Congrats.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That is our
baby.
Yeah, I mean, you know, with everything going on in the world, it's a great feeling.
Yes it is. Because we enjoyed so much loss recently. So now to see these births, it's like gives you hope, and you know, it's some feel good emotions and everything, you know?
Right, absolutely. So before we go on, I don't know if y'all can see my T-shirt. I'm gonna stand up a little bit. I hope everybody can see it.
Yes, I can.
For better for worse. So this is my homegirl Mika. I want to shout out Mika. Thank you for the shirt and all that you do for me. Mika Meek, everybody knows her. She's, you know, all over. She is a phenomenal woman who has donated her whole life, I would say, to the cause. And I just think what she does is amazing. So I you know, I wanted to just shout her out on that. And these shirts that she have are amazing. And it's me.
Nice.
So yeah, definitely.
Shout out to her. That's dope.
Yeah. So yeah, Deb, you want to get into it and introduce our guest?
Yes, let's introduce the guest. We have Miss Regina Alton on the line. Yes. Hi, Regina.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
You was a surprise. I didn't even know you was on the show today, sis. I like surprises. I like it.
And we also have Langston Mason.
Masson.
Masson.
Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Langston.
How you doing?
And Langston, I'm just happy to have you on the show. Langston's fiance, soon-to-be wife, is a very, very good friend of mine. So they are very, very good people. And she's family almost to me, so that makes that he's almost family.
Okay.
Hey, more family the better. Right? More macaroni and cheese, collard greens, and all of that, right?
All
more rice and peas for everyone.
You're making people hungry, Langston. You're making people hungry.
Yeah.
I know we got a good topic, but do you want to talk about the Jacob Blake a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. You know where we at, Deb.
Right.
It's actually so much going on today, right?
Right.
Today in general, like Jacob Blake, yes, let's touch on that. But let's start start the topic off with what today really is and what it stands for. Langston, you want to get a shot at our viewers at explaining what today really means to colored people in general?
Well, this is the anniversary of the March on Washington.
Yeah.
Right? And the significance of the event was the true coming of age of the civil rights movement for America. You know, that was the apex of everything that was going on. You know, we had our leadership, we had those people that my grandparents and my parents looked up to, making their voices known for the planet, not just for American ears, but for the planet. Like, people all over the world, all of a sudden, knew and understood that Black Americans were not just, you know, silent faces in the back rooms of America. We had a voice, we were loud, we were proud, and we were intelligent. You know, we had the best representation a person could dream of and pray for at that time. Because, I mean, Martin Luther King, inspired by Langston Hughes, my namesake, with the "I Have a Dream" speech, you know, which is based on Harlem, otherwise known as the Dream Deferred. He did something monumental there, but he wasn't the only one, right? Black women spoke that day. Other Black men spoke. Children spoke, right? And much like that time, now we're seeing, you know, the coming of age of the ingenue now, right? Where the youth are really leading the charge now, right?
Right.
If you're 20 years old, you're walking in Dr. King's shoes right now. You know, like people that are 40 and 50 years old, we're watching our children take the baton. And this is an exciting time, but it's also a time to reflect and just be awash in the rich legacy that we have in this country, because we have always been about taking that first step where others have to watch us, right? In terms of, I always say this because in every industry this is true. No matter what you do for a living, a Black person took the bullets, the knives, and the rope first. Right? Like, we celebrate women's rights. Well, a Black woman took those stripes for white women. Right? So when we talk about the suffragette movement, there's been a recent thing, same thing, right? Where Black women were the ones on the front lines for the women's rights movement, but they were never celebrated. We have Susan, we have all these other people that we talk about, but the sisters didn't get no love. Like, we are constantly always on that forefront. We are on the edge, the leading edge.
I don't want to go too deep. I don't want to go too deep in it, because we could go on for days about it. But Regina, I want to get your view on it, on what today you feel, what it means to you today.
It's ironic that you asked that question, because yesterday was my first day as a graduate student at Hunter Silverman School for Social Work, and I'm actually going into the social justice field. And my reason is because we talk about what's happening, but it's time for us to rise up and become part of the solution. I'm the mother of 5 Black children, and I have a son who's 25, and one of my biggest fears is that he's not going to come home one night. And there was a time where we used to be afraid of the streets when it came to our children. But now we have to be afraid of the society that governs them.
Right.
These police are out here and with no regard, they're locking up our children, they're killing our children, and there's nothing being done about it. But this is how to stand up. Like, you have to be part of that solution.
Right.
We have to be out here. We have to get our voices heard. There's an election coming up in November. We need to pick who we want in these seats in office. Because these are the policymakers that are going to make the laws that are going to affect our community. See, people think everything is about the presidential election, and it's not.
Well, we'll get into that, but I just wanted to get your view on how you felt, because we have a long night ahead. So I just wanted to get like a view of what you thought today, like what it felt to you and what it means to you. And Deborah, what about you?
Yes.
How do you feel today? Like, what does it mean to you today?
I mean, I agree with the guest panel tonight. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's very significant, and it should be a day of reflection of how much we've had to go through, how far we've come, our leaders and all the strides that they tried to make for us to make the world better for us. And I was happy to see a lot of young people got on buses today. I mean, all ages got on the bus today, and they represented in Washington and D.C. I love the fact that our youth are feeling compelled to be a part of the movement. You know, they're really coming out in droves. They, like you said, we hear their voices. And I think it's just nice community-wise and unity across the state lines that everybody is together in unity on this at this time.
Yes, I agree. I agree. And for me, I'm on the page with all of you. Just not. I was sitting home today, and you know, my whole mentality was glued to what was going on in Washington, and yet I was sitting here thinking, there's so many optimistic people that are on Facebook and IG, and who still are undecided on what they should do, or should they vote, or should they not vote. And these are the same people that if I would have called or I would have posted, would not have even known what today, like it was so big to be African American today. Today should have been a holiday. But so many people missed the mark on today, and that it even meant anything to us. And yet these are the same people that have mixed views about the election, mixed views about the legislation, mixed views on even the strike that I get chills when I think about the sports entertainment world. And you know, I made a joke on somebody's page today, like, yeah, let's see if it changes anything. But it was a joke. But reality is, what they're doing is so monumental because
It is.
It's so monumental on so many levels what they are doing, that the more when the MLB gets involved and tennis, when you see it spread, it's like no matter what government does, we're gonna change this legislation, because this is about changing law. Because they're like, oh, okay, they planned today, so what did it matter? We're gonna get laws changed. So see, with laws, just like with King, you don't have to march every day. You don't have to revolutionize every day.
You can fight in many ways. You can fight the cause in many ways. Right.
We have to teach our children this. I grew up and I was angry and I fought people and I did a lot of bad things to people because I was uneducated. I did not have the education. Not to say that my family didn't come from a long line of history. I didn't care to stop to learn it.
Right.
And I had a mentor, a stranger, come into my life and teach me game. And when you teach a child game, they don't ever forget it. Going now to what, Deb, you wanted to talk about. Jacob, I'm sorry, not Jacob. I'm so memorized.
I know, you got it too. You talking about Jacob Blake, yeah.
Blake, yes, Blake. His children, Deborah.
In the car at the time. So crazy.
With bullets in the car, flying in the car.
Well,
you want to teach your child, but not. Go ahead.
I said the oldest was like 8 years old. It was like 3. I don't know about the middle ages. I think the youngest was 3 and the oldest was 8. And then his father's trying to walk around to the car, right, to get in, and they're shooting him in the back.
We all see it, and we all can't stomach it.
Crazy.
How do y'all feel about the Jacob Blake story? Langston?
This is one of those times where people like me get angry, because some of the answers to these problems actually live in this space that we talked about in the 60s, right? And one of the reasons why you saw stuff like the Black Panther Party come forward in the 60s wasn't necessarily because we wanted a black militia, right? I think that's a misconception of what the Black Panther Party was about. But flip it around. There are plenty of armed white groups all over America.
I'm sorry. Somebody's trying to call Al.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry. It was a caller trying to call in. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Langston. Go ahead.
Oh, you're fine. There's all these white groups all around that are armed, that patrol their streets, or like this thing that happened with Kyle Rittenhouse, where he crossed state lines to go and protect property and all this other stuff. And one of the things that I've always talked about from when I was in college is that the reason why you don't see a lot of these sorts of things happen in these white rural areas is because them police will get tore up. I'm serious. Everybody got guns out there. And them white boys is not scared to use them. They like, I'll do the time, but you're going to be in the ground. And guess what? The police going to stop coming over there. That's why you go to certain parts of the country, you don't see police. Because they know not to go over there. Those biker gangs, these neighborhoods, these communities, these collectives. And my thing is that this is only going to encourage people to take extreme measures. Because pretty soon, you're going to start seeing these videos where police pull a gun on somebody and they get their head blown off from behind. That's what's next. But the problem is that because they're doing these things without fear of repercussion, that's where the horror comes from. That's where that lack of justice, that lack of, okay, there's a balance to this situation. If you're going to do something violent, at least we're going to stand up for our own. Because that doesn't happen repeatedly, right? When Brother McLean out in Colorado, right? The special needs black boy, right? Who wasn't going to harm a fly. When they killed him and injected him with drugs when he passed out, right? You would have thought somebody would have stopped and helped him. But no one ever comes and helps us, right? Never. But we always see these other videos where the flip side, people will stop and get in people's faces. Police will get cussed out. They'll have their guns drawn and put them away like, look, let's talk this out. This is that time where we have to really revisit what we're going to talk about when it comes to what are our next steps. So is it we're going to go through the proper protocols, at least the ones they tell us to go through, like the Citizens Review Board and all this other stuff? Or are we going to start doing something with teeth, like taking our money out of their communities, right? Taking their money away. Like this defund the police thing, as much as people say, well, we don't want lawlessness. What do you call when people indiscriminately run around your neighborhood with guns, kill your children, kill your husband, right? No one sees their day in court. They just get paid vacation leave, and then you have to go back on with the rest of your life and explain to your grandchildren why you still have to respect the police when they're murderers.
Right.
That's lawless. Right. That's lawlessness. Yeah. To me.
We could go on and on about the lawlessness of it all, but at the end of the day, you have to take steps. You can't just say we want to change legislation.
Right.
Dr. King and everybody had to take steps to get to the promised land.
Right.
So what we want now, what the plan of action is now, is let's change the law. Because at the end of the day, if I'm a police officer, my job and my union and the government is saying they're all going to protect me, even if I shoot somebody innocently, I'm not going to hesitate to do it if they're inconveniencing me. It could be, they keep using this term, deadly force, and they felt like they were, harmed. And no, they don't have to feel harmed shit. You could make them chase you, and they feel so mad, like, why are you making me chase you, that they want to do something that's detrimental just to stop you. And it becomes a choice. So with the legislation, we're giving people the choice now to do it and then either be found guilty or not. But Regina, sticking on the topic of Jacob Blake, how do you feel about what's going on in the world today with him and his case and everything?
I feel like the police are just out here running around with no repercussions. They're breaking the laws. They're like a gang of some sort where if you are a person of color and you do anything that they don't like, you now have a target on you. And then you have the government standing behind them, justifying their actions. These police are not being prosecuted. And like you said, they're getting paid time off for killing our people.
Right.
Was he wrong for going to his car? No, he wasn't under arrest.
And
he was not under arrest. So he had freedom to walk away.
So let's be the devil's advocate, because I've had this debate all week. People are saying that with the world we live in today, with the time that we are today, with George Floyd and Ahmaud Rashad and Rashawn Brooks, that he should not, no whether it's walking away or whatever. Even putting your hands up too fast, we should be telling our sons, don't do it.
Rima, is that something is that a talk, a conversation that a Caucasian parent has to have with their child?
That's why we're talking about it.
I'm not doing it. I feel like right is right and wrong is wrong, and the laws apply to everyone. My son should not have to exercise caution when the police are supposed to be there to protect him. You know, there was a time when we had to look at the police to protect us, but now it's like you have to protect your children from the police. I remember when they instituted the curfew for that little week in New York City, right? And my daughter's 8 years old, and she had just started going to the store by herself. And it was about 7:29, and I asked her to go and get a container of milk and juice for herself and her brother. And she said, "Ma, do you think the police will shoot me if I'm not back in the house by 8 o'clock?" See, these are the conversations that you have to have with your children now because they're afraid.
Deborah, what kind of conversations are you having with us? You got boys like galore. You got a football team.
My son, the conversation I have with him is stay in the house. Whatever you need to do it here where it's safe. I don't even want my son out in the street. Rima, you know, you see my son outside, he party, I'm with him. Because I feel like I have to be there, and even at 25 years old, he turned 25 years old today, I still have to protect him. But I don't have to protect him from the streets, I have to protect him from the law.
How about you, Deborah? How are you with your sons? I just want different opinions on what is the conversation with these boys like?
It's just, you know, fortunately, where I live, we don't have an area where children can hang out and be, you know, just hang out. So my boys are normally here or they're Long Island. They're out. They're not in the street. So we have conversations where there's instances that go on, and we talk about the details of it. We talk about the feelings and how they feel about it. But the thing is, they are boys that follow orders and directions, and I would just hope, you know, if things can happen to them, I know, just based on being an innocent bystander or whatever, but I trust they have good minds and good judgment, and they're not like street kids. They're normally going out to go somewhere, you know. They don't hang outside too much, but the conversation is definitely, it's hard to tell them. It's hard for me to answer that. Because you can tell them one way, circumstances could go a totally different way. It seems like it depends on who they run into. Some cops can be understanding, right? And let them, it depends on, you know, the mood of the day.
I'm going to tell you, I got a 31-year-old. I'm having the conversation too. And I'm a 31-year-old. I still have to have the conversation with my 31-year-old. And, you know, always been the parent to don't let me wake up to a knock on the door. So, I mean, and I'm not in this age bracket. I only give sympathy to the conversations that all of you is watching, everybody on panel who has children, anybody who's watching us tomorrow over the weekend, anybody watching the show tonight. If you have a child in between the age of being born up until 18 to where they could just kind of really take care of themselves, because at 18 you can kind of make a judgment call. You can't really make a judgment call at 15, meaning that, sorry to say this, because and my son was not the statistics, so it's not, I'm not saying I'm not meaning this for everybody, but a lot of young black male at the age of 18 have probably been stopped by the law a good 2 to 3 times. They had a little bit of practice with it. That's really, that's like Regina just said, that's not something that you want to tell your kid.
I mean, yesterday, my son asked to go play football. Mm-hmm. There was a level of fear. You know what I'm saying? Like, should I say yes? Should I say no? He needs to have that social time. He needs to see his friends. Then I got to think about safety. I got to call, you know, it's like it gives It's like your antennas are up. Like I'm checking on them. You know, it's ridiculous. I can't even. Only way I'm safe in that peace, I feel like peace is when they're home. That's it.
I don't want to get into the politics stuff because tonight is not about politics, which we've been having for weeks. Tonight is about school. But just to touch real quick on politics, you know, the fact that our president of the United States of America has not addressed the nation using the name Jacob Blake, Ahmad Rashad, Breonna Taylor. When you guys are hashtag and say my name and then in the same breath saying I'm not voting for Biden, I get confused by that shit. It's very confused because it's like, say my name is because Trump won't fucking say their name.
Hey, he won't. He won't acknowledge them.
He won't say their name. He had 1,500 people in the United States of America all at his arms yesterday, and he didn't mention not one. You brought up racial injustice, but you didn't bring up not one of these people's names? You brought up Kenosha. You didn't bring up one of these people's names? You had the whole world at your fingertips.
The whole world.
You didn't have to work for it. You didn't have to work to get our attention. You didn't address the nation and all this shit going on to even reassure us that we all gonna get better together. Give us the black hope. The Reverend Sharpton, the Jesse Jackson. We all gonna do this together, people. Give me something.
Nothing. He talked about what he wanted to talk about. He wanted to talk about the viewership, so the NBA was down anyway. Things like, it's like, come on.
Almost like Corona don't exist and kill all these Americans.
Right.
African Americans.
I don't know what, when it comes to Corona though, like, there's no disrespect. I know, but when it comes to Corona, since Corona was so different, we never had that. So I don't put that in a racial cat. That's the one thing I don't put in a racial category. Why? Because it was a fucking, excuse my French, but it was a pandemic. And that was so different than what we ever experienced. And so I just feel like we all won with that. Just with that, I feel like...
I agree with you to a point. We all as human beings are suffering the effects, directly or indirectly, of the corona pandemic. However, racism and bias exists in the medical system in America. This is a proven fact. You don't believe me? They just released an article the other day. If you're a black baby, check out these statistics though. If you're a black baby, you have a 75% higher chance of surviving the first week of your life if your doctor's black in America.
Right.
It's better in Cuba for black babies than it is in America. It's better in Cuba and Russia for black women that give childbirth than America. Black women are 3 times more likely to die from postnatal complications than white women. Right? So just for a second, just think about it.
Oh, no. Trust me. I know.
So when it comes to corona, and after what I've seen, I've lost so many family members to corona, and I've seen how these folks get down in these hospitals. They plug our people in, and they walk away. They hit that button on that computer and send Medicaid or Excelis or whoever the bill, because private or public, it don't matter. They're getting paid. Okay? Right. And they leave your behind plugged into that machine all day, and it's destroying your lungs, and you're drowning while you lay there, okay? And they do that in particular. I have doctor friends in Einstein in Philly, okay? And they have to go and find the charges of all of these different floors because they don't check on the black patients. These people are literally like, it's like, like when you're on a boat that's sinking and somebody says it's me or you, we got one life raft for one person, I'm picking me over you. That's how folks are doing us. They're like, I can either spend my time with these patients or these black patients. So, like, to me, when you see the numbers are disproportionate for how many people died, yes, we're all suffering from coronavirus. A lot of white folks died. But when you're talking about 70% in places like Wisconsin, right? 80% in New Orleans. Like, that's bananas. That's not we're in this together. That's not we're in this together.
But they live different, though, anyway.
That's the message they want us to say. While we are killed, while we are dying in our beds.
Wisconsin, let me say something to you. This is not hypothetical.
Right.
I've lived in Wisconsin for a year when I worked out there. They really they are segregated, meaning that when you come out of Milwaukee, you are a nigger. You could go in certain parts of Wisconsin and they look at you like you a foreign object, like they don't even know what black folks look like. I never experienced no, and I've been around the world, baby. I never experienced no racism like I experienced it in Wisconsin because I didn't even know that it was white people who looked at black folks like that. I went into McDonald's and they said to me, "You lost?" The man behind the counter said, "You lost?" So I said, "No." Back then we didn't have GPS, we had the maps. So I'm looking at the map, and he came from behind the counter and whispered in my ear, "You should not stand it." I'll kill you. It's so many stories. Like, my point is, with Wisconsin, when you get, like, Kenosha is not far from Milwaukee. It's maybe about 40 minutes.
Yep.
So from Milwaukee area in Wisconsin, which is like California, by the way, that's how big it is. But Wisconsin is like LA, and then the rest of California would be all white. So once you leave out of LA, you a foreign object to people. Could you imagine going to Brooklyn and they look at you like, where you come from? I never seen somebody like
Actually, I can. Not 20 years ago, but today, baby, it's a whole nother ball game in Brooklyn.
That's how it is. They look at you like, where you come from? Can I touch your hair? Like, you real?
What color is your hand on this side? You know, like that kind of, yeah.
So when they shot him, I wasn't too like, because it's Wisconsin and I know how they give it up out there. What was surprising to me is that they said his 3 sons was in the car, which means that when you was on the opposite side of the car tussling with him, you knew that it was kids in the fucking car. Because ain't no black babies sitting in nobody's van while you tussling with their father and you police, and they not screaming, "Daddy, daddy, daddy." So when y'all go to court, be prepared for that. So you knew it was kids in that fucking van. And you fuddled him around the van. I never heard freeze. I never heard stop. Never even gestured like they was trying to get him to stop.
But he survived, and then they handcuffed him in the hospital.
Paralyzed.
Right, he's paralyzed. What is he handcuffed for?
They handcuffed his paralyzed legs, Deb. His paralyzed legs.
I'm like, he can't even use his legs. Like, why are you crazy?
Could you imagine how his family felt going to see him with his paralyzed leg, cold, and that's what his father said, the cold shackle on his paralyzed leg?
Right. So uncalled for.
It's inhumane.
His mother forgave
It's not even humane.
the police. Did you see this?
What
His
happened?
mother forgave the police.
Yeah, she did today. She did today.
They didn't even go to court yet. Like, what are you trying to do? Phone it in? Like, save them, I forgive yous for Jesus,
Right.
okay? Like,
But
wait. Wait to see it play out.
Listen, sometimes your heart is broken so bad, forgiveness is all you got to give, brother.
Yes.
Well, not the person trying to kill your son.
I want you
He still
to
has a
hear
whole
me.
life ahead of him.
Sometimes your heart is broken so bad that all you got to give anybody is forgiveness, and all you got left is hope.
Yeah.
So I've been there.
I
So
think
I'm
she's trying
saying
to
that
actually
to
help
say
him, to be honest
We don't
with you.
know what his mother's going through
I
right
think she's honestly trying to help him because you know them police going to put some trumped up charges, no pun intended.
I mean, they said they released the charges and they unshackled him today.
Yeah, but they might come finish the job.
Right, well, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of times that happens. Remember what happened with the Botham Jean case? People forget the brother that testified against that cop died. Very shortly thereafter, the court, go look it up. He testified against that lady in court, and he died like, what, 2 weeks later? He was murdered.
Wow.
Yeah. So, she might be trying to save her son. But them cops don't need our forgiveness. They already been forgiven the minute they put that badge on. Anything they do wrong, they have, oh my goodness, the term escapes me right now. They have like this complicit protection from the government. If anything they do in the line of duty is questionable, they're given the benefit of the doubt off the rip.
Right.
No matter what. That's why cops
get laws and legislation change.
Yeah. That's why they get away with.
That.
That's why police get away with murder and rape. People don't even talk about that. Oh, bad. You talking about rape? Check out NYPD's numbers for police rape. It's awful.
I mean, we don't.
Awful.
We could go. We're not
Like,
even gonna
you
touch
know yourself.
Right. We would
Like,
be
you
on
know
this all
yourself.
day. So again, we don't want to stay stuck too long on that. But Deborah, any last words before we go into our topic for tonight?
No, we could jump right into the topic.
Okay.
I'm just hoping that the viewers and the hello and welcome to the viewers that are watching.
Yes, Deb. We
There's
got a full
definitely
house.
some good content coming on here, so make sure you chime in on the conversation. I will be looking to try to read what I see on the thread here. But Langston, good information. And Regina, good information so far. Now let's jump into it.
So tonight's topic, and again, I want to thank the panel for joining us for tonight's topic. It's a really, really important topic. We don't have another show before the kids go back to school. When we have our next show, that's the week the kids do go to school. So it is only right. The great debate, since we have started, we always cover the major important issues. So tonight's not going to change. Tonight's topic that we're talking about is going back to school. And this is not only for New York. So for the viewers that are listening, if you don't live in New York, yes, we are basing this conversation around NYC, but this is, potentially to any state in the country, basically. But we can only go by our mayor and governor's decisions, and that's, just wanted to put that disclaimer out here. So,
Right.
Again, we just want to give, before we even get into the discussion, I just want to say to the viewers, none of us are teachers or, anything of the such. This is advice. We're not telling you what you should or should not do. We're giving parents options, and we're also talking about the issues to get to those options. So,
Well, I am a teacher.
right, I'm sorry. And I said that, that's why I switched it up. Like, we're not trying to tell you that.
Yeah.
No, we're not trying to sway you.
Right, but we're never trying to sway our views. So, without further ado, let's talk about it. So, New York City has the kids going back to school the week after Labor Day, and the kids are supposed to go back with two options that I've heard so far, which is they can either do remote learning or they can go in class sessions. In class sessions, some people are doing on and off, some people are doing 5 days a week, and I guess we'll get into all of that. But for me, most of my friends are doing remote. So I'm gonna go around to the panel and have you guys can say what you're doing for your kids and why, and whether it's remote, in-house, and why. Deb?
I'll be the last one.
Okay, go ahead, Langston.
Full disclosure, for 3 years, I was a community school director in New York City in the South Bronx, so I no longer am doing that for a living. I'm a business owner now, but I've worked for a very long time with at-risk youth. So just some of my opinions come from experience. As far as my own personal children, all three of my daughters are remote learning. The opportunity was there for us to send them to school. However, because all three of my children live in cities, we don't live in country towns, right? I refuse to be part of an experiment. There still is no working coronavirus. There is just that junk that Trump is trying to sell that already kills black people.
But that is great that you said you don't want to be an experiment. That's just so bold.
I know my history. The stuff that Trump says is supposed to cure coronavirus used to drive black soldiers crazy in Vietnam. And it causes anemia. So I'm not with it. But the other piece of it is that for me also, I think that the challenge is that the majority of people in America can't telework. Right? They have to go to work to earn a living. And so the problem is, who cares for the child while you go to work, especially if it's a single parent family, or there are a lot of two-parent families in the black community too, right? Or two caregivers, whatever you want to call it, they both got to go. And so when you homeschool a child or remote learn with them, you have to monitor their progress. You cannot just stick them in front of Zoom and walk away. You have to help them. Mainly
I don't want you, and we need your expertise on that. So I don't want you to go too far into that because we're about to come back into that. So that's why, give me a center, because what you're bringing up is definitely something I want to, those are options what you're giving us right now. Right. I don't want to get into that just this second. I just wanted to, what you're saying though is great. I want you to hold that thought because we're about to go back.
That is a good point. I want to elaborate on that part
too. Right. But
So
Regina, I just want to give you a chance to just jump in on this, and then we'll go back around to what he was just hitting on, because that's very important. But what options are you doing for your children?
Well, Langston hit the nail dead on the head.
He did.
I'm a single mother, and I have 2 children, one with special needs. I don't have another option other than blended learning because I have to go into the office.
Just in case my viewers don't know, what is blended learning? Is that remote or is that in-house?
Okay, so blended learning is a combination of learning where your children will be in school partially and then the rest they'll do on remote.
Okay.
So for my son who has special needs, he's a District 75 student. And for him, what school would look like is that he'll go to school Monday through Friday.
But do my viewers know what District 75 is? Is that like a special district?
Yes, it is.
District 75 is a district for students with special needs.
Okay, so go ahead.
Okay. So for District 75, what they've come up with is what they call a 4A plan. And in the 4A plan, the children will alternate school weeks. 1 week they're in school Monday through Friday, and then the following week they're out of school.
Okay.
My daughter, her school, she's in District 9, that's regular public school. And what their school is looking like is that they'll go to school Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of 1 week. And then the following 2 days and then the week after is all remote learning. This is a problem for me because...
That's a lot.
Yeah,
It is.
this is a problem for me because an 8-year-old, you can't just give an iPad to and trust that they're going to do their work. They're going to be watching Gotcha Life on YouTube and making those little videos and, you know, everything except for what they're supposed to be doing. But when you're a working... When you're a working parent and you have to put food on the table and pay bills and you have to go into the office, now there's a dilemma. And see, these are the things that they weren't fully thinking out when they decided this whole plan. Like, I sat there, and when they came up with the plan and they announced it, I was in awe of the stupidity that was coming out of the school chancellor's mouth.
I mean, it's not just only special needs, but special needs, they even war wrong for that. But again, that's why we're going to talk about some options. Like, what could be some of the options that you may have? First, we're going to talk about the challenges, and then we'll go into the options. But before we do that, Deb, you want to just chime in on whether you're doing remote or in-house? Because you're a teacher, so how does that work?
Right, I'm on both sides of the fence. My son, who attends high school, he's actually been given, his school has made the decision not to open until October 19th. That's a possibility of them opening on the 19th. They've decided to do a full month of remote learning until they get more information on on how they can provide the best and safe environment for the students.
So hold on for the other one. For that one, is that good or bad?
I think that's good.
I think that's good. I think they need to sit it out. To me, I think, okay, young kids, they have a small attention span. Not meaning to interrupt you, but I feel like they still need to sit it out right now. But go ahead, for the other one?
For the other one, he's going to be in a group like Regina explained, where they go 3 days a week. But I think it's 3 days every week. I don't think that they'll have a week off from what I've read today. They'll probably be alternating like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then the next week it may be another 2-3 days. They put them in groups.
Okay.
They have like group A, group B. So that group of students actually stay together throughout the day.
Right, they don't go out for lunch.
Process. Right, so if somebody gets sick within that group, they can isolate, kind of better define which children that they need to be concerned about. So, that's what it is right now.
How do you feel about that? Because that's really
I kind of have mixed feelings about it because I want my children to have the social factor, right? But then you got to worry about the safety and the health of them traveling to school if they use public transportation. My children take the bus. So I have to be concerned about the way they get to school, what's happening in the school, and how they down into groups, and they're going to be together all day. They're not going to be able to change classes. Lunch is going to be brought to the classroom. They have these ventilation systems and all the stuff that they're installing in the school. They ordered like 90,000 masks. You know, they sent us a list of all the supplies that they actually brought and have to be in the building before we start school.
So now, as a teacher, how do you feel? Do you feel safe? Do you feel like your union is protecting you because you pay union dues? So do you feel
I
like
pay
your
union dues, but for those who don't know, there's a possibility that there might even be a strike, and which will go against the Taylor laws because you're not supposed to strike as a public employee.
I was about to say.
There's a lot of teachers that are against going back. We have relatives, families in our homes that are sick or may fit into that criteria of, you know, of that, the list of people that really need to be protected, or be high, I wouldn't say protected, but just be more cautious during COVID.
Okay.
So us going to school and coming back home, being around students, like I teach high school. My students travel on their own. They take trains, buses, you know, and I have to be concerned if I get something from them and bring it home to my house where my mother or whoever I'm living with may get ill, you know, because of me traveling. So the teachers are not comfortable. A lot of teachers don't have all the information of how their particular school is being safe during this time. But, you know, they're telling us that we're required to go back to work. So it is a problem.
Because if you're not covered, then you don't pay rent. So now going back to, you know, that's just another thing to make the hurdle harder.
Right.
So now going back to the panel, going back to you, Langston, I wanted to just discuss, so I'm going to throw some options out there that my friends have came up with, right? I'm going to throw out 3, because I know I got quite a few friends that came up with some quite creative stuff. So I'm going to throw out 3, and you could choose one, or you could comment on all 3. One of the options that my friends have is, they live in Connecticut, so it's 4 of them that are from where I grew up at. So those 4 that don't live far from each other, they all together within 4 of them is 9 kids. So the 9 kids range from pre-K to the 6th grade. So the good thing is they all in elementary type age. So what they did was they hired a teacher among the 4 parents for the 9 kids, and they rotate houses based off taking a COVID every week, a COVID test. So that's one option, hiring a teacher among your peers. The other option that my friends had was hiring a private tutor. I don't know if that's a good or bad idea because tutors, you know, they hired a tutor who has a degree in education, but you tell me what you feel with that. And then third option is just let the children sit a year out, thinking that even though they have a low learning span, that if they sit the year out to protect their child and send them back to school next year, that everything will blow over and everything will be safe. So now, out of those 3 options, what do you think? And, you know, give us your opinion.
The first one sounds fantastic. The only problem is that it's not economically sustainable for the median number of people that live in the New York City and New York State area that are of color, right? The distinction of living in Connecticut is regardless of that. You know, there's plenty of black folks in Connecticut, Latino people that can't afford a private tutor or a private instructor.
All 3 of them was good options. The problem is, well, 2 of them, but the problem is affordable.
Right. So the thing I will point out, though, right, is one of the things we are going to have to do as people of color in America at this point is also take a big, long look at what education is really offering us besides babysitting, right? Look at whether or not we're actually getting our children taught. No disrespect to anybody that's in education. My mother was a teacher for 30 years. That's where I get this from, right? But them days is long past, right? We know that the best educators in this country are black women and black men, but there's only 2% black male educators in America anyways. There's not a lot of brothers teaching, unfortunately. They want to, but they can't. They keep us out.
Right.
Right? But the thing I will point out is you do not need to be a teacher to teach. Right? Think about it. You know how many people that live in the burbs and in the countryside that homeschool their children and don't even have a 1 year experience in college and they homeschool? That is not a requirement to get the homeschool curriculum and teach your child. It never has been. It's just that it takes the time and the bandwidth to offer that. But if you have, let's say, a girlfriend or a father in your community that's good with the kids, that says, hey, I'm willing to take this on and try it, right? You may want to consider the option of community homeschooling. Or even if you get 3 or 4 adults that maybe they're out of work, maybe they're early retirees. There's people that retire at 55 and 60 that can teach kids.
But we giving the viewers an option. So when you say community homeschool, I get it. I'm sure Deborah gets it. But what would I do? How would I go about trusting somebody that's out of work to actually teach my child a curriculum?
Well, I think,
what would be the criteria for that?
Well, aside from the education piece, which is an end, but that's not the only end. Deborah is a teacher. She knows they do very strenuous background checks on people. A bachelor's degree is a tiny piece of what it takes to be a teacher, right? They really heavily investigate you. I had to go through the PET system. I know what it's like. And I was in corrections, and they still gave me a hard time.
Any city worker, though. I think any city job, they like...
Right, but the point is that you can actually go and obtain using the internet. You can look up the resources for New York State to get the homeschool approved curriculum and teach it. As far as finding a reliable person, start with the low-hanging fruit. Do you have a family member, right, that you trust? Rather than just somebody in the community, do you have somebody in your family that you could trust to even do it a couple of days out the week, and then you switch to somebody else? Right? We're going to have to start taking...
I'm glad you brought that up, because family tutoring, that was going to be my option. It's my number 1 option. Because when my son was in 12th grade, he got through the whole 12th grade because he tutored everybody in my family math. A lot of people in my family was weak at math. People need to pass SATs and stuff. He would tutor them, and that's how he lived his whole 12th grade, tutoring people. So I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of viewers, they look at it as options, and that's an option that people can do. So we went from tutoring and hiring a teacher to giving you guys an option that you actually can make happen for your kids. You got people in your family that's in high school. They fresh with the math. They it doesn't even have to be a higher person with a BA or anything like that. It could be a college person in your family or a high school person in your family who can help the 6th graders and the junior high school kids get by. I don't think this is going to be long, but we're just trying to give you short-term solutions.
Right. And just to interject really quickly, I've done my own research on homeschool education because of the current situation, right? We always got to figure a way around this, right, as Black people and brown people. But homeschool curriculum guidelines only indicate you got to do instruction for a maximum 2 to 3 hours a day. The rest is enrichment. A very different structure than public education because of the population. You have a larger classroom. When it's just you and your 1 or 2 kids, you're only supposed to put in 2 hours of actual instruction with them. There's enrichment. There's some practicum, them doing assignments. But you don't bombard kids with instruction like that when you do homeschool. It's very different. It's very organic. And you can structure it how you need to get through the day. That's all I'm trying to say. It's not like you're going to be sitting in the living room for 6 hours.
Langston, that was a great tip for the viewers, what you just said. Great tip. Regina, we want to give you a chance to chime in on this option topic.
So, just going off of what Langston said, the enrichment thing, that's really good for children. I feel like if these children can't get back into school, and I'm talking about the younger ones who don't have the attention span to sit there and do a 6-hour curriculum without maximum supervision, these kids need a break. Give these kids a break. Let them take the gear off until they feel like the schools are safe enough to open back up, and teach them about how home economics. Teach them how to clean properly. Teach your 8-year-old how to cook, how to wash dishes, how to do laundry. Let this be a time to learn the skills that they need other than how to mark the right answer in the box.
Well,
because a lot of these things...
Before those used to be the parents' job. The problem is the world we live in now, everybody's structure and guidance. Before that used to be like I learned how to wash dishes.
That's what the parents should be doing now. That's what I'm saying. This is what the parents need to be doing now. Cause when I saw that she didn't have the attention span to sit there and do the curriculum, I stopped it. Because I wasn't gonna mess up her psyche trying to, just get her to comply. So what I did was I started a different curriculum where we were more into home economics and learning how to do what she needed to do in the home. Okay. How to make up a bed, how to, wash the dishes correctly. And I had the little girl washing baseboards, washing walls, because these are things that you're going to need to learn that they're not. And this is the right time to do it, because there are some parents home that can't go back to work right now. So if you're home with your child, then this is what you should be doing. Because sitting there in front of an iPad for 6 hours, it's difficult. It's difficult for these small children. And it's not like they're saying to us, well, we're going to have like something like we have where there's a Zoom and the teachers are on Zoom and the children can actively participate. You're giving them papers to fill out and submit.
Right.
It doesn't work. My daughter marked done on all of them and just served them in. It doesn't work. They're not going to do it. And I feel like the Department of Education is failing our children right now, because one of the options could have been was that they started they said they were going to break them down, right, into smaller classrooms. That should have, in fact, happened, but there's too many spaces in New York City that's not utilized that they could utilize as makeshift schools, where they could have brought in. I remember back in, I want to say the 90s, at my older children's school, in the schoolyard, they have brought in these trailers, and they have put the kindergarten classes in these trailers. And what happened to that as an option?
They still trying to figure everything out. They just so behind the race. But my thing is, a lot of teachers need to take the time out to know their students, right? Some students, you can't just give them a program and think that they can figure it out. My biggest challenge from when we went into COVID was I teach special education. I'm a special education generalist teacher. I am certified to teach any subject to students with needs. My thing is students that a lot of students are not, they weren't able to log in at specified times, understand the assignments. I had to do a lot of virtual. I had to do a lot of explaining. Teachers have to take the time out to understand their population, the individual students in their class, so they can learn how to best teach each student. Like one plan for a whole class may not work. You may have another child that needs supplemental materials. Another child may need something a little bit more interactive. So that's the challenge that a teacher will have when you teach your students through the computer.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, I think that okay, so this is my thing. I think that it's the age difference, right? So I think when you're under junior high school, your learning curve is a little less sharper than you in high school. I don't give high school kids passes, because at the end of the day, you getting close to the mark. You just gotta thug it out. Like, yeah, it's hard, but you gotta be like, I want to graduate. And as long as you have that in your mind, those kids is on their phones all day anyway. So you on your phone or your tablet to do schoolwork. If I had a teenager, you couldn't come to me with that. You on social media all day. Now, kids that are junior high and under, because their learning spans are a little different and they learning, it's just a little different, even though they're on the phones a lot too. But I just feel like they need a little bit more encouraging. My option is to try to figure out an alternative that doesn't have to be remote to what if they're in the 7th grade, you don't have to give them a 7th grade curriculum. Just make sure they learn it, but really kind of still sitting it out. I don't think no kid should be going back to, listen, I know COVID numbers are down. I know we're not in a crisis now. I get all that. What I do also feel in my gut of guts and heart of hearts is when New York schools open, the numbers will go up. That I feel in my heart of hearts. And that's a bottom line for me, right? Because when you're talking COVID, there's bottom lines because people die. So when you put death involved, then you got a bottom line. So let's forget all the preliminary. The bottom line is when they open those New York City schools, me, you, and everybody else knows those numbers are going to change. And New York, we barely caught it. If it gets out of hand, New York, it's a wrap for us. I don't even know how, through the grace of God, we even was able to skip it. God bless.
It's way too soon. It's way too soon because it's back to school. Way too soon.
It's way too soon, and there's
if
areas in New York City
open up the restaurants for indoor dining, if it's not safe enough for us to go sit down and eat.
I don't think that people who do that, not to disrespect, but you can't compare education to eating. Eating and education is two different things. They don't even have the same crowd. It's not the same volume.
No, Rita, listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. If they don't think it's safe enough for you to sit in a restaurant and have a meal for 2 hours, why would it be safe enough for you to sit in a classroom for 6?
Because a restaurant is not the same as a school. They could keep the kids contained in a school. You can't keep contained in a restaurant. That's their logic. I'm not saying it's good logic, but they have a point. A restaurant is not run like a school. So they're not comparing. We're comparing restaurants to schools. The government is not doing that. Cuomo and de Blasio was saying we could contain the kids. They're not going out to recess. They're not going to play with other kids. Because remember, we were saying,
there's no gym.
Right. Remember, we was like, oh, you send your kids to school, they're going to come with somebody else's mask on. You know how kids are, but they're not even playing. Like, when you look at the way they got the classroom set up, you really are 10 feet apart. You don't go out for recess. You don't go out for gym. You don't go out for lunch. That's what I'm saying. The kids that are choosing to go in class, it's not like you go in a restaurant where you sitting next to a person and you eating, you spitting. They wearing a mask at their desk all day.
All day.
The only time they take the mask off is when they eat. Huh?
Say it again, Regina.
Do you think it's going to be possible? Because I'm going back and I'm referring to my 7-year-old again with special needs. Do you think it's possible to tell a 7-year-old nonverbal child with autism that's already a little bit hyper that he has to keep a mask on all day? How is that going to play out?
Oh, I don't believe that plays out. I'm not saying that anything that I said is I'm just saying how their logic is. Now, you ask me a question. No, I don't think that that's going to work for a 7-year-old with special needs. I would sit my 7-year-old with special needs out, like Langston said, because I'm not an experiment. But that's on the parent. You get what I'm saying? But I'm talking about if you're choosing to send your child into school, your option is your child's not getting recess, lunch. That just broke the whole thing. They're not doing any of that. So
well, they bring in lunch to the classroom. Wherever you at, you're going to be scheduled for that classroom for the entire day.
And I saw that on CNN.
The teachers will be the ones shifting classrooms. Mm-hmm. Lunch will be brought to the class, but they still got to go to the bathroom. They still got to have some type of movement,
But it won't be in the hallways playing tag and what I thought was they going back to the hallways and recess and
they need to shut it down. They need to just shut the schools down. It's not time yet.
Right.
A lot of children are going to get sick, and people are going to die.
Al, can we share this link in the Zoom chat into the Facebook group page? Langston posted a nice link here about home education. Can we share that? Because I can't see both the way I'm doing it.
I mean, I see it, but yeah, it'll be good to share that. That was actually good.
Yeah, share that into the group page. Yeah.
But
it's challenging. It's really challenging to say what is right and what is wrong. I mean, The problem is that we're in this situation because we don't want to sit our asses down somewhere and wait this out. We do not want to wait for the storm to pass. We got to keep sticking our head out the window and trying to see if it's safe to run out into the rain because we got to go chase the dragon, right? We have to make a proof that we can start making money again as a country because otherwise it'll make the government look bad. And meanwhile, the thing that, I mean, look, the people that will suffer the most, I'm sorry. My mother was a teacher. My dad is a black chemistry professor, okay? But I am a person with a heart for children first. And the people that are suffering the most in this country are the children, right?
Yeah.
We have failed them. You understand? As a society, we have failed this generation of children. We screwed up so bad that we ain't got no post office. We ain't got no school. We don't have a plan on how to get out of this situation. These kids are looking at us like, what am I going to do next? We got to go back to work. Otherwise, we ain't going to have somewhere to live. And now we're saying, let me send you to school and hope that things work out. And you don't know where the teachers have been. You can't stick a thermometer on somebody's head and say, you know if I have COVID or not. That's useless. You have to test someone.
Hold on a second, Langston. Al, you got a caller?
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Hi, I'm sorry, Langston. We're going to hold that thought, Langston. We just want to get the caller in, but the line is not tied. Hi, caller. Welcome to the air. It's the great debate.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's me, Vic, Positive Energy.
Hi, Vic. Hi, Positive Energy.
I just woke up, but I caught a little bit of y'all of what y'all was discussing, and I think that's very debatable, and it's kind of hard to like really agree on that particular subject in terms of letting kids go back to school or not. Maybe they should wait till January at least, or maybe they should just wait after this winter in case that COVID do come back. But it's a tough decision to make because the kids do need the education.
By the way, it never left.
So, but
it's still here.
You know, so it becomes very difficult. You know, do we really concern ourselves with their education, or you know, we all know health is number one. Their health should come first. So maybe they should do another year at home, or at least up until January, just to see if that COVID comes back, from September to January, because safety is number one, and then education, so how you guys feel about that?
Opinion, Vic. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
So go ahead, Langston, back to what you were saying.
I mean, just to get right back to the point, it's just we kind of did, when I'm from upstate New York, way upstate near Canada, right? And y'all got a phrase in New York City that has always resonated with me. Whenever you mess something up so bad and you like, why did this happen? People in New York say you did it to yourself, right? America did this to itself. This man in office led us into something that has never happened in the history of this country. We had mail when George Washington was president fighting the British. Think about that. Well, we ain't got to fight in the Rona. This man done screwed up everything. And we have to protect our kids. We have to take that measure that we can take as families. I'm not saying to boycott schools. However, I respect teachers saying that they'd rather go on strike than risk their lives and the lives of the children that they're in charge of protecting. Teachers have an oath to protect their students. And sometimes you have to make those decisions that are not popular, right?
Right.
If you follow God, you're not going to be a popular person. You're going to do the right thing. You're going to have a lot of enemies in life, baby. This ain't going to be an easy road to walk, right? And we need to protect the kids first, because if we let these folks in the government have their way, the people that's going to suffer the first and the most is going to continue to be the city. A part of the city that I worry about the most is the Bronx. The Bronx has the highest rate of asthma, obesity, and diabetes in the city. And that's where all the first responders live that are of color. And that's where the first people to die of COVID in New York lived, was the BX. And they were professionals. They weren't just people sitting around doing nothing. These were hardworking healthcare professionals.
COVID ain't discriminate.
No, but it hit us first. Black folks, just like the Revolutionary War.
I mean, that's not necessarily true, because it hit New Rochelle first, and New Rochelle ain't got that. It wasn't black people it hit first. So that's not necessarily true. And I work for the Department of Health, so that health.
Yeah.
It's a fact. It wasn't us first. In fact, if you remember, social media had the joke that we weren't getting it. Remember? Black
That was
folks can't
ridiculous.
get corona.
That's how it first started.
Remember? We wasn't getting
Yeah.
it. Black folks can't get corona.
Brief
So it
steam.
wasn't that we were getting it first. It's just that we weren't getting the
They changed
treatment
that.
that we need. Right? They weren't giving us the treatment. We weren't getting the tests. Our neighborhoods were the last neighborhoods to get the test. Without the test, you cannot win. You need the test to know who's sick, who's not sick. How you want to know who got it?
Right.
So it's like they want us to send the kids back to school, and I want to bring up the next option, which is the parks. Regina, are you bored? Are we boring you, man? I'm gonna need you to wake up.
I'm not bored at all, honey. I'm not bored at all.
Go to you. So my next
The
question.
park, that one threw me for a loop. When I heard that, and I read it on your post first, and I was like,
I want to talk to you. I want to ask you,
park.
how do you feel about
And I was like, I started cursing, and I was like, are they losing their minds? Because how do you plan to educate children in the parks?
They just said it's outside. That's all they care about. Outside is less COVID contamination. They didn't say they was protecting your kids. You didn't hear de Blasio say, I'm going to shield your kids in the park. All you heard de Blasio say was, it's less chances of catching COVID if the kids is in the park. That's it.
And then there was a lot of people that protested.
But where was the thought of safety?
There are people getting killed in front of school,
Right.
close to school,
That's what-
and you're going to have
And I'm
your
like,
child
we
sit
getting
outside.
shot.
Right.
Every Monday I wake up to shootings in the park. Every Monday I wake up to that. Every Monday.
I lived near a park where a 14-year-old boy got shot at 2:30 in the afternoon, broad daylight, head taken off his shoulder. And this is where you want to teach my child at?
The girl was
I
going to
live
get
in
her
an
nails. She
urban
got killed.
community.
The girl who went to go get her nails got killed. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right, it sure was.
Right.
It sure was.
And you know, like, I don't know about in everybody else's community, but in the community where I live, the park is where a lot of the illegal transactions go down at.
Got a point. Got a point.
That's one of the issues that they actually had listed in the New York Times. It was saying that there's needles, there's drugs, there's glass, there's bottles broken in parks, dangerous neighborhoods. There's no way your child could effectively learn sitting in a park from a teacher. That's not the right environment.
It's not
It
only
shouldn't
that,
have even been an option.
It's not only that, but do you not see de Blasio? I'm asking de Blasio this. Because it's not Cuomo. Cuomo just got to approve it or not. De Blasio's the one actually coming up with these plans. So my thing is, de Blasio, since you was creative and your team was so creative, do you not foresee us seeing on the news at 2 p.m. tragic shooting where second grader gets caught in a crossfire? Like, you don't see that on the news. Like, I could see that shit happening. Like, you know what I mean? What you think?
He should get Citizens Act. He should get Citizens Act to really see what's going on. Because they tell you minute by minute. You know?
All 5 boroughs, you think it ain't going to be one incident with the kids in the park? In all 5 boroughs.
That's not safe. What happened when it rained?
They're going to give
put a
them
tent?
tents. No, so they have tents. Even when it's on nice days, they plan on putting up waterproof tents. So the kids are going to be in the tents anyway.
Okay, so what about when it's 19 degrees outside?
Then
Do our children get hypothermia?
Nah, so then they showed the picture of back in 1914 when they had the Spanish flu. That was the last huge pandemic for us. So when they had the Spanish flu, all the children it wasn't tents. They would build back then. So what they did was build tents, which is the same shit because it was like no walls. It was just a roof. And when they had the Spanish flu, what the kids would do was they would wear their coats with heaters and they would sit in
lessons at home and record myself and send it to my students so they can watch it more than one time if they need to. Set up a daily time frame where I can be live with them, where they can answer questions and we can do problems together. Because I know there's a lot of students that are not going to be able to come to school. There's a lot of parents that are unable to help their children to do these lessons. And fortunately, a lot of my students I've had since the 9th grade, they go, so I pretty much understand my population, except for the newcomers, the new 9th graders that are coming in. So I know how to kind of curtail my lesson plan for them. I also provide links to the parents as well. I send it to the student and parents so they can collectively do it at home. But unfortunately, some of my students were in abusive situations at home. So what happens with those students? You know, it's so many different pockets that need to be addressed when it comes to this. Some kids come to school for safety. You know, some come for meals. There's so many different things that has to be talked about when we talk about school and what it does and what it provides for some students, you know? Everybody don't have the money to pay for tutors. That's an excellent idea. But how many people?
Another alternative that I thought my friend was very creative, piggybacking on what you just said. She said for the year, her 2 boys are sitting it out. She has 2 boys. Devin is 7, and I think Jake is 10. So 7 and 10, they're young. So she said she's sitting it out. She has the option of working from home. So she asked her job if she could get the whole school year. So she had that already on lock. I was actually proud of her. I spoke to her last weekend. They already started the curriculum for September, and lucky for her, they have a teacher this school year, both boys, that the teacher is really helping her, that they're already ahead of the curriculum that the school had for the boys. But she said, you know, she really dedicates to her 2 boys because they're young, and she doesn't want them like falling behind. Because this is the thing, right? Every parent doesn't know how to teach their children. You could think you're the best teacher in the world, but you're talking about education. And me and you both follow people, and you and everybody else know that there's that person on your timeline that irks your soul. This person is so nice of a person, but they can't spell. And it's not to make fun of them. They really are illiterate. There are people out here who are illiterate. There is a word for that. It's not that they stupid or dumb. Some people can't learn. Some people don't have that attention span to learn. They don't know vowels. They don't know nouns. So you be careful when you want to take that role that, all right, I'm going to just leave homeschool. I'm for this.
There's some parents who are ESL. There's a lot of students. We have a big population, especially in the Bronx, of ESL students. Students that don't speak English. And there's not a lot of material online that translates these lessons.
And not only
that, translator, we have to physically put in the problems in Google Translator to translate that. There's a huge pocket of students that fall under that challenge. That their parents don't understand English, they know their culture, they know their language, and they don't understand this work.
So they don't have the option of what my friend Michelle has. I mean, and again, this is great conversation because you throw an option that a viewer was like, damn, that don't fit me. Well, here go another option. I mean, you know, again, collectively.
Another challenge that some parents may be faced with is that the school's curriculum now is so much different from when we were in school. My daughter brought me a Common Core math problem. They do this Eureka math.
Common Core.
I don't know how to do Eureka math. We didn't have that when I was a child.
Right?
So now I'm sitting on YouTube, and parents, if there is anything that you do not know, I promise you can find it on YouTube. They have all of the Eureka math lessons in order. You can follow it. But, you know, to sit there and just as a parent trying to relearn these things or learn them for the first time just so you can teach your children, that's very challenging.
Especially in math. Math is totally, there's a lot of things I had to go back to the drawing board. Like, I didn't learn it like that. You know, this is totally different. So
Thank God
it's
for
a
my son.
challenge.
Thank God
Langston,
for my
you're
son.
too quiet.
Huh?
Well, I'm trying to let y'all speak too. This is not my show. I'm a guest.
You be touching some good topics on the fact that there's no one fit all solution. You know, it's really not.
I mean, I think that the other piece that is going to have to come of this time, no matter what your decision is when it comes to the education piece, whether it's you send your child to school or you have them do remote learning or you teach them yourself, is that no matter what happens, you have to advocate for your child. There's going to be a lot of shenanigans when this finally blows over, because you can just imagine the nightmare of the records and keeping track of students' progress and everything. And the other piece of it is, I'm sorry, just like every other line of work, you know, like there's good postal workers and there's bad postal workers, right? You got great teachers and you got lazy teachers, okay? Some of our children's paperwork, little Tay-Tay paperwork might get lost. That promotion and doubt letter might get sent out by mistake because somebody forgot to file a report because nobody's... Remember, you don't have that building leader in that person's living room, you know, because they might have been the slacker at the job. Now they home remote distance learning. They late for the Zoom meeting. Believe me, I've been through this. I'm you was the slacker at work. You know what I'm saying? So like, you're gonna have to, no matter what you do, whatever you do, even if you send them kids to school, you still gonna have to advocate for them. Right. Because you still need to be like, okay, I need to make sure my son is making progress. Not just going to the building and coming back with a bunch of papers. He's, you know what I mean? Like, it isn't just about getting the kid in front of a teacher. It's about making sure they're actually learning. And that's the piece that we're gonna have to go into overdrive on this. No matter what we do, we all gotta take a bite of this sandwich. It's not gonna be like last year.
I want to piggyback on what you said, because my thing is this: if you could take, and this is not for the ones that Deborah said that have language barriers. I'm talking about parents who I feel like to try at least, because my friend Michelle, she didn't know she'd be a great teacher. She worked with the teacher. She's not into element. You know, this girl, she works for mortgage. She does real estate. So, you know, she got kids in elementary school, but what she did was she took the time to work with the teacher so that my thing is this, going on what Lacey said. I was always the type of parent, my son couldn't put nothing in his book bag and bring it in my house. He just couldn't do it. If you brought a hat home that don't belong to you, you taking it out my house. So if you're that type of parent that is involved, all you got to do now, and it's temporary, but I suggest, if you want to talk about options here, I would strongly suggest that your best option that you find would be the cheapest option to get your child the best education would be kind of what Langston said, in the sense of trying to give more time towards your child's education and do some things a little more, go the extra mile. Try to build relationships with your child teachers so that you can learn a little bit of the curriculum, so that you can be more engaged. The same way you were when you was following up, like you said, you just can't send your children to school. You gotta make sure TT is learning. Make sure TT is reading. Just because she went to school for 5 hours, 6 hours, that don't mean she's learning. So the same way you putting that energy into TT's learning, just put a little bit more now to work with the teacher so that you could be that middleman until your child could get over the hump, get back in school. Because I'm a little worried about a few parents freestyling. I don't wanna support I'm trying to be politically correct, Langston. I don't really want to support the parents freestyling because I'm a little worried with
some
that.
Some homeschool curriculum.
The literacy is a problem, right? It's a problem in America. Yeah. We don't want a whole bunch of dysfunctional kids. Yeah.
Y'all laughing. Because I worked in the Bronx, man, so I seen it all. I'm just thinking right now. I used to have the ladies come in talking about I put the crystals on my son's head. We don't believe in the flu vaccine. I'm like, what? Crystals? Yeah, it's like, I got some here in my purse. I'm going to bring some crystals for you, too. I'm like, no, we just need your son to come to school. He's been absent 3 days. About to send ACS for them crystals and your son. We're going to take all them joints out the house. You know, I didn't see it all. So I'm just saying, like, we know. You know what I mean? Like, we know that, like, it has to be something legitimate and real. But it's also like, I mean, this is the thing about all these situations. We kind of feel like the government now, right? Because we're saying, well, you saying this is what we got to do, but how? I wasn't prepared to do this. I didn't think last year I was gonna have to homeschool my children. I was thinking they was just gonna go to school and everything was gonna be all right. And that's why you're hearing these ridiculous responses from Chancellor Carranza and Mayor de Blasio. You know, I mean, like, and I used to meet Chancellor Carranza all the time. I have a lot of respect for people that hold that title. But I just kind of think, I'd rather be that person to say nothing than to say something crazy.
Because it's making noise. Go ahead, Langston.
I'm just saying, I've always been that black man that has always said, I would rather say nothing than to say something crazy and have people go off that. You talking about putting our kids in tents. What you think this is, Indiana Jones? Like, this is New York City, baby. It's going to be 12 kids in the tent with a teacher and 2 crackheads talking about, well, I think George Washington Carver was the first president. You're like, who said that? Like, I am. I'm here for class today. Welcome back to Katona Park. You back? You know, like, you're going to be in there with squirrels.
At the end of the day, there are some parents who are not going to have a choice, right? There are some parents who, like DEBRA, have jobs where they say, listen, you got to report back September. Figure it out. If you don't report back September, you ain't got a job.
Yeah, you don't have tenure yet, so you can't just be like, peace, deuces. No, you can't.
Right.
So I'm just saying,
you know what? My class is actually, my school has 400 students. I'm in a building that's broken into 4 schools. I've already had a roster of special education students, maybe 12 students in the class. I've had about maybe 5 show up daily. So, I mean, in a classroom, a large classroom with 5 kids, there's enough social distance space for us to safely learn.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not really worried about the population that I'm assigned to.
Okay. But you just say in general because, you know, with teachers is one for all and all for one. So.
Right, because everybody may not have that kind of situation that set up.
Are you in a 12-1-1 classroom?
Yes.
Okay. Because, I mean, one of the things I thought about, too, is all the mandated paras that need to be in special classrooms, like especially if a child has a 1-to-1. You know, like that eats up that space real quick. These classrooms be real empty with just you and the kids, but then you add the paras in, and then it's like now people on top of each other. It's challenging. So
I have 1 or 2 paras the most in the classroom.
Yeah.
And like I said, in a large space, that's still not.
Yeah, that's good.
You know.
Not everybody's blessed with a big room, though. Yeah.
That's 2 students that I don't have to be, you know, really, I could be at a distance and somebody is there explaining. My thing is, they said that the students and the teachers are supposed to have the COVID-19 test before we walk into the building. When is that happening? There's no notices going out for students to be tested for COVID. There's no notices going out for teachers to be tested for COVID. All we know when we walk in the building, we're going to get that little temperature thing to our foreheads, and we're going to be sent on our way. That's not sufficient.
And the test has to be given frequently. You can't just test somebody.
Yes, frequently.
You can't just test somebody 2 months ago and be like, I was negative 2 months ago. You could have been contracted that. You got to test people frequently. How are we going to do that to the kids? Like,
does it matter though now? Because y'all know they saying that we could get sick again now.
Right.
So I don't even know if that's the case. Then the tests don't even matter at this point, right? Because they saying that they got 5 cases in North Dakota. 5 cases in North Dakota. These people they had a mild case of COVID. 2 weeks later, caught a severe case of COVID. Like COVID left and came back. So
it's possible.
If that's the case, then what we doing here? That's why people need to sit it out. Look, that worked for New York. Look at the fucking statistics, people.
Yeah.
New York, the worst. They said it was over for us. How could we have survived COVID? COVID in New York is a needle in the haystack, baby. All these people here, we're on top of each other, and yet still we did better than Atlanta. How the hell we
I'm ready to say, I don't know how that's possible. I'm ready to drive my children if they have to go. But I'm still up in the air for my students that's a senior in junior high school. At least I know the one in high school is not going back to school till October, or not assigned, or he can do 100, or he has the option to do 100% remote. So I'm not really concerned about him. But it's, you know, you have to. All I can say is through this, parents have to more than ever be more involved in
Yep.
their child's education. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. And one way or another, you either have to physically go online. If you don't know algebra, you need to get on that computer right now and learn it. You don't know about social studies and science, you need to get yourself acclimated, because we could all be sent home again, even if we do go back out to the school.
And again,
go ahead.
And again, just real quick, I gotta intervene on that about the illiteracy thing. That doesn't mean send your child to Google the information, because then your child's not learning. So what happens? The child gets all his work that he sends in right, but then he don't know nothing, and he will be an adult or she will be an adult that cannot read and write. So you could cheat because you rather go smoke a blunt or be on the phone with your homegirl or be fucking around on IG, and you telling your 10-year-old, I'll go Google it. These kids ain't gonna know. Google can't teach them. It tells them.
I have high school students with a 5th and 6th grade reading level, right? So now they're at home. They're trying to figure this out. Reading comprehension, 3rd grade, and they're in the 11th grade.
God bless.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So how are these students supposed to be doing Common Core math, Common Core English, critical thinking, when they are not even fully comprehending what they're even looking at?
I think that the Board of Ed, I think another option for the parents, and listen, if it ever comes a time where you parents could get involved in legislation, because I'm going to do this because I have a grant on the way, but I think that the Board of Ed should be paying for tutors for certain children.
I agree.
Tutors should be going along with the laptop.
I agree.
I got a thing to add on to that.
Go ahead.
We pay these taxes. They should have supports for the parents. Like,
right.
Instead of just tutoring the kids, why not tutor the parents too? You know what I'm saying?
Well, they said that they have support. Supposedly some schools, we can't say all, because some schools do have
Here's a packet.
link for the parents.
Right,
I'm
here's
just
a
saying,
packet.
so it's not all schools, but some schools, and again, parents, you guys gotta try a little bit too. I'm not saying all parents, there's a lot of parents that do go hard for their kids, but there's a lot of parents who kind of didn't realize how out the loop they was from their kids when it came to school and education. And it's so much going on in the world. Like, when my son was in school, it wasn't so much going on in the world. So we were, it's so much going on in the world now that it's not really important when you really look at, damn, I was really out the loop with my child in school and learning. Because now, look, none of us was prepared for this. So nobody could beat themselves up. Nobody was prepared for it.
No.
But we do have to come up with options, because we started up the show saying how black injustices is, how the equality of black people is not being met, and how we got to do better. And the only way we do better is getting congressmen in the office. The only way we do better is changing legislation. So at the end of the day, what we got to do? We got to raise Barack Obama's. We got to raise Kamala Harris's. We got to raise children that want to go into law, not want to go to the bodega corner store, not want to be flying on IG rocking Gucci belts. Like, we got to raise children that want to go into service for the common good of the country that we live in. Because people be like, fuck America. You live here. You can say fuck it all you want. You live here. That's like saying fuck your home. Your home.
Yeah.
This country's ours, technically. Right? Like, we put the work in. Right? Just like the Native Americans, we put the work in. So as far as go back to your country, I'm home, baby. Where I gotta go? No, I'm serious. Like, my great grandmother came here in 1913 to Ellis Island from Panama, right? Pretended to be 18. She was 13 years old, right? My father's people came here around the same year, right? We've been here for 100 years and change. And both sides of my family went into the civil rights movement for black Americans. They identified as black the minute they got here. So when people say go back to where you're from, this is mine, right? I earned a piece of this. And I think that everybody here, instead of looking at it like we on borrowed time, this is our time. The reason why we being fought against so much when it comes to the education piece, the legislation, is because people know if we get the rock, we gonna be great at it. Look at what the first black president did. We didn't have no mess like this. Wasn't no country shut down. And he was newer to money, the world of influence and power than Donald Trump was. Donald Trump was born into money. Barack Obama was born into a broken
You know
home.
why? Because Barack Obama gave Caucasian people hope.
Yeah.
You
But
gotta
he came
give
from
people
nothing.
hope.
That's all I'm
That's all
saying.
people want. They don't even want the promise. They just
Right.
want hope.
All I'm saying is a
And
man
that's
that came
what
from
Barack
nothing
Obama did.
did more than a
He gave
man with
people
needs.
hope.
Way more.
Right.
Way better. A
When
man
you
that had to
come from
overcome
Bush,
a lot.
all you want is hope. When you come
Yeah.
from Barack, all you wanted was better. Now, people back to wanting hope again.
We went
Please
backwards.
make sure you read the comments in the link because we got some very good comments. We're down to the last 13 minutes, so we got to get some closing thoughts and.
Mm-hmm.
But very good conversation. Very
Yes,
good.
very, very good. So we talked about kids going into the parks and the schools. We talked about what some of the options may be. Now let's talk about our kids and how we think that this is affecting them and what we could do to help them with all that's going on with the shootings, the killings, and all that. And now here we go, another school year that you have to tell your children you might be still staying home. That's got to be a hard blow. So Regina, starting off with you, what are some of the things that you're doing with your children to try to get them even prepared that they might have to be home for school yet another year?
There's nothing that you can do to prepare them. The only thing you have to do is just keep reinforcing that this is for your safety. I have to do this because I love you, because I care about your health. I have to protect you. These are the conversations that you have to have with the children. Like, you have to be honest with them. There's a pandemic. Lots of people die. And my job is to make sure that you don't die. So, no, you can't go and play with your friend. I'm sorry.
Sure. Like,
And you got to be kind of real. You got to be for real with these kids. And you got to be blunt. And you got to tell them the truth. And the truth is that this is a pandemic and it's taking out people by the droves. And unfortunately, there's no cure for it. The vaccine, we're not even too sure about it. Even with the testing, there's people that tested negative and still were positive and died anyway. So, you know, this right here is just one of them baffling situations where the only thing you can do is protect yourself. You just got to stay indoors as much as possible. If you can avoid going out, don't go.
Thanks, Tim.
As an homage to what my mother did for me when she was raising me by herself and in poverty, right? I think the thing that we have to remember is our power as Black parents. I think it is our job to recall the fact that we are heroes to our children, right? And we need to inspire them through this time. Just like our parents and grandparents had to be inspired through tough times, so do we, right? If you went to church, the mosque, whatever you did to get yourself right, we need to do that for our kids. This is not just a time about education. There's also massive political unrest. This is also an election year with one of the worst presidents in the history of our nation, right? And we got kids that are going to be old enough to vote in November. Some of us, right? I got a 16-year-old daughter that wishes she could vote right now, right? We have to keep our children motivated. Like, you need to work through this. We're going to work through this together. Listen, you can't go out with your friends, but you can go out with me. Let's go get some fresh air at the lake. Let's go for a drive. Let's get on the train. We put our masks on and go somewhere, right? But we have to come prepared with answers of some kind and some kind of looking forward thinking with our kids. Like, we need to, as adults, get the hell off our freaking phones too, and Facebook and Instagram, because we be on there too. That's how we know kids is on there looking fly, right?
Right.
We need to take that time and have that inner thought and be like, what am I going to do? Because nothing comforted me more than when my mother actually showed me she thought about me. And she took that time to show me she had planned things for me or had some kind of idea, even if it was just for the next couple of days. Just that we have to show our kids that we're thinking ahead the best we can and that we're going to try to do this the best we can with them together. But we got to understand, in their position, they're looking at everything that's going on around them. It's not just coronavirus. They're looking at Black people getting murdered on television every day. They're looking at people that look like them, that are the same age as them, out in the streets protesting. right?
Right.
And now they're talking about your parents are saying you got to go back to school, right? So we got to tell our kids the truth. We have to settle with them. We have to be real with our kids. We always criticize our parents' generation for keeping things from us, for hiding things from us. We can't be that. We have to be open with our kids and put them in a position so they know that we're in control of this information rather than they hear it in the street or they hear it in the phone. We need to be the ones to share this with them and inspire them, because otherwise they're going to be lost. And they're going to do things that lost people do. And we can't criticize them for that if we don't give them leadership and guidance as their mentors and parents. That's all.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you for sharing that. Bev?
Okay, I do agree with the transparency. I'm very transparent. I'm fortunate enough to have 2 teenage boys, 13 and 14, that trust me, that know that I make good decisions and I'm always open for a conversation. And they know that I'm going to make the best decisions for them. So if it turns out that they don't go back to school, do the remote, they know it's for their safety. It wouldn't be an argument or a fight about it. I try to discuss everything that I can with them and try to provide them with the best tools to help them make it through, whether it's through critical thinking, whether it's through content in school, whether it's just basic life skills. I'm trying to be all around the board with that so they can learn to be critical thinkers and learn how to make the best decisions for themselves. So I'm still on the fence at the end of the day. I'm not sure. You know, I'm going to go to my school and see what's going to happen if we don't strike. And then I'll make a more informative decision.
Right.
You know, but I just say again, parents, just get more involved. Do what you can to make sure that your child is in the right position. Be more proactive. And do reach out to your teachers. I'm a teacher. I'm always on board to help my parents with the tools that they need to be able to help their child. So we have to work together.
And I just want to end it by saying that, you know, again, I hope tonight was helpful to parents that was listening and tuned in. We threw out some options. I know that everybody has their own unique situation, but I will give some tips. And I mean, I have a son who did make it to college. So speaking from experience of a parent having a child going through the school system, never through anything like this, but speaking to quite a few people, I would say the best thing that you can do right now is worry first and foremost about your child's education and safety. So with that being said, if it doesn't make sense to send your child to school, meaning that you don't have to go to work and your child is not forced to be in-house, I think that you might want to just take a step back, keep your kids home for maybe until November or December. Matter of fact, I heard that if you choose not to go into school, you can't choose again till January. So that's even better. So and this is opinion. I just feel like if you don't have to go into work, if your child's not mandated to go into school, you might want to sit this back until January and reevaluate what your options are. In the meantime, from now till January, you might want to take this time to make your child's skills a little better, a little more broader. Get flashcards, find some peers or some relatives that are in your family that's a grade or 2 or 3 higher than your child. Bring them over for the weekend or a day. Spend some educational time with your child. Someone that you could trust that's family or you know that is, not ill. Those are some options. Some other free options is online tutoring. They have a whole bunch of free online tutoring right now that you can go online and do the research. Do the research, parents. There's a lot of options out there that you're not thinking. For example, my friends in Connecticut didn't even know that they could hire a teacher. And if the teacher was in their pay bracket, they was able to afford to put it together. So I'm just saying, they found that teacher online. They found this whole concept online. So go online and do the research.
Reach out to me. I'm a math teacher. I know a lot of things I can do to parents. And I have a community of teachers that I work with that covers science, social studies, whatever subject. And I have materials and resources that I can send out to parents. So if you know somebody that works in education, reach out to them. If you have a personal relationship with people, reach out to them. Get some tips, get some pointers, get some resources and materials. You can start now. You don't have to wait until September 10th.
Right.
But most importantly, get that teacher's telephone number. Whoever is the person that is in charge of your child's curriculum of education this year, have their telephone number. And don't be afraid to use it. That's what they're there for. They're getting paid to do a job, which is to teach your child from September to June. They're getting paid for that. So whether your child is in-house or not in-house, you have a right for your child to be going to school. That is their right for your teacher to help you with whatever you might be having difficulties with, even if that means planning a day. And one more thing I want to add. When you have a curriculum with your child, make a pepperoni pizza, a sundae, bake an apple pie, bring in some, I want to say McDonald's, but bring in something. If you don't cook, do something to put a smile on your child's face. That smile will go a long way. And it also could train your child to do better at home because they may want the reward. You could use that to help the education process. Parents, but you got to do one thing. You got to be creative because our children's lives and education matter. And on that note, yes, I really appreciate you guys for being on the show. How about this, Dad?
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for
It's a
having
great
me.
show.
Thank you. We appreciate you having us up here. This is a great show.
Thank
Great
you
topic.
so much, Regina and Langston. I really appreciate it. I'll be seeing y'all on my son's baby shower coming soon. Next time we do the show, Deb, it'll be the baby shower time.
Right.
I'm so
And make
excited
sure
about
y'all
having
look
my
at that.
grandson. Huh?
It's that homeschooling link. I'm telling you, that is some valuable information.
He put it on the
Make sure you
page.
get that
It's
link.
there.
It's in the page?
Yeah, it's on the page.
Okay,
please
good. Make
use
sure you
that.
go back and get that link.
So everybody, again, I am Rema.
And I'm Deborah Coco.
Thank you guys for tuning in to another great debate podcast show. We appreciate you guys.
Yes, yes.
For tuning
See
in.
you in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yo, what up? It's your boy, that Senegal. You now rocking with the best. IAXS Radio, WIAX. Let's get it.